The Locked On Podcast Network presents the Big 6 in 60. The 6 biggest national sports stories from the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Get the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 60 minutes. The Big 6 in 60 starts now with the biggest story in sports.
What a night in Dallas. What a night for Luka Doncic. What a night for the Lakers.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast.
Luka came out red hot, finishes with 45, 8, and 6 to go along with 4 steals. Not bad for a guy who can't play any defense. So this was a big game for the Lakers on a ton of levels, a huge game for Luka on a ton of levels. Everything about this went, I think, about as well as you'd want as a Laker fan.
It went as well as everything you would want as a Laker fan. I think it went every way you would want if you're Luka, but also, too, in a lot of ways, we'll talk about this as Luka's teammates. Like, I think there is potential from this game.
Yep.
And JJ talked about this a little bit afterwards, and he didn't want to oversell it. He said, you never know. But I think there is potential from this game to really bond Luka as the new guy to LeBron, Austin, Rui, Vando, like the guys who've been there longer and who've been a part of this, last couple seasons, hauling ass to try to just get yourself into the play-in, the turmoil with Darvin Ham, and then the chaotic search bringing in JJ Redick, like the Anthony Davis trade that nobody saw coming, bringing in Luka. Like, there's been a lot for these guys that obviously directly involves Luka, but there's some of this that Luka still has not experienced, some of which is great. Like Luka not having the institutional memory of the ghosts of the Denver Nuggets. That is a good thing. But there are pieces of this that Luka has not experienced and that they haven't experienced with Luka. And I think we saw evidence tonight of just these guys really having Luka's back and Luka really appreciating it.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that because there's an element of what the Lakers are trying to do this season as a team that is unusual. Everything about it. I mean, and it is that notion of being a team that is put together essentially late in the season. That is not something that usually works, but the flip side of that is, maybe talk about it in the next segment, is usually the way you're being reworked isn't by adding a top 5 player in the NBA. So Luka showed the full range of the skills. He showed the passing, the step back. What did he have in the first quarter? Was it
he had 31 in the first half. Let me pull up his first quarter.
I thought it was 14 in the first quarter, but either way, it goes to the half.
14.
He went to the half, like you said, at 31, and it just the night started with that introduction and this video. And I saw what you tweeted out, and I texted you actually something very similar. We both had the same reaction to this incredible video. It was really well done. The ovation from the crowd was, well deserved, but just so unusual in this situation. And we're both kind of watching this video going, man, that's a great video. Why'd you trade him? Like,
the way I phrased it on Twitter was Luka's face while watching this very well done Mavericks tribute video looks like an equal combination of sincere emotion and then why the F did you trade me? And Luka was crying during this. I mean, you mentioned like his full range of skills as a player being on display in this game, but it was also in a lot of ways the full range of Luka Doncic, the person. Yep. And Luka is somebody that, at least publicly, in the setup that you often have with NBA media and media in general, like, he's not unfriendly in terms of everything I've ever heard about it, our limited experience, but he's not bubbly with this stuff. He does not enjoy it. He doesn't make a big show of pretending that he enjoys it. And there's a lot that he keeps to himself. This was a night where he could not even attempt to keep those pieces of himself private. He told Lisa Salters and talked about after the game and talked about it with post-game media. His immediate reaction after that tribute video was, I don't think I can play in this game. Like, he was just overwhelmed. And JJ Redick, I think, was not overstating it when he said what Luka ultimately did tonight was superhuman. I mean,
it was pretty impressive. I mean, like, to go from that to torching, like just instantly locking in. But I mean,
it helped that he had the road crowd in his pocket
and the home crowd. I mean, to be honest with you,
well, that's what I mean. The road home crowd,
right? You know, I mean, there were a lot of Lakers fans in the building, but you know, it was a strange thing where like they were genuinely excited when he did stuff well, in part because the trade remains so incredibly unpopular in Dallas. You know, there's a great clip that's going around social where like some woman in a Lakers jersey after Luka hits a step back three turns to somebody, I don't know who it is, but they're wearing a Mavericks shirt or whatever, and you can read her lips. She says, "In your face." It's like the whole thing, and like ultimately what it gets to, and again, stuff for the next segment maybe, is just what they've added and the kind of the killer instinct, so to speak, you know, in sports terminology, to be able to channel what you just saw and bringing up all the emotions of like this trade and the turmoil and like I didn't see it coming and it wasn't something I asked for and all this stuff, and channel that into, let me light you up for 14 points in the first quarter. Like it's pretty cool.
It was really entertaining. It was very cool, but it also, like, again, just, it cannot be overstated just how effing weird the whole thing was, particularly to start things out. Like at the end, it was weird in the best possible ways because I think Luka ultimately got what he deserved from the evening. But there was a moment early in the first quarter where Jackson Hayes got sent to the line. And as he's shooting free throws, one of many, many, many Fire Nico chants started as Jackson was at the line. And the camera cuts to Luka, and he doesn't look in any way at this point like he's relishing this. He looked sad and uncomfortable. And I think there was, for a lot of this game, for as much as Luka was just cooking for a lot of for really all of the first half, I think the game was weird for his teammates. I think there was a disjointed element to, you know, similar to what we saw. It's contextually different, but similar idea. Kobe's final game. And that game obviously had no stakes other than celebrating Kobe. Like, you wanted them to win, but the Lakers were not going to make the playoffs. That was the last game period. But guys did not know what to do with the ball. You know, every time anybody but Kobe touched the ball, you got booed. And it wasn't that extreme for, you know, the Lakers tonight or that type of crowd. But I think there was an element of everybody wanting to be a part of enabling Luka to just crush these guys. And it took everybody, I think, out of balance for a lot of the first half, and then they really settled in the fourth quarter. It was
the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. They took a 6 or 7 point lead, 8 point lead. I think it was actually got it up into double digits at one point, and then it looked like they were taking control of the game. Dallas comes back, closes a quarter strong, and actually starts the fourth by taking the lead. They actually go up in the Lakers, and the Lakers in the last 7 minutes put on a clinic. And that, from the sort of game stuff of this, how did the Lakers play? What did they do? Like, it all seems a little bit secondary, to be perfectly honest. Maybe we'll get into more of the game details for Friday's show. But the thing that was impressive to me about the game, this portion of the game, and Luka played a big part of this, was the Lakers kicked it into a gear.
Yes.
Over those last 7 minutes. Because Dallas, I mean, I've said this, like, with Kyrie, I'm not the only person, with Dallas with Kyrie is a very good team and an unusual team where you have that one guard who can do all kinds of stuff and so much length everywhere else on the floor and talented players. Without Kyrie, they're obviously not going anywhere this year, but they're not terrible either. And the Lakers hit a gear in that last 7 minutes that Dallas simply could not match. And that was really impressive. That's something good teams do.
The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking my favorite teams or diving into player props from three-pointers to steals to assists. There's so many ways to bet. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance for an even bigger win. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
Luka Doncic's return to face the Dallas Mavericks in the American Airlines Center finally brought some closure to Mavericks fans and hopefully to Luka himself. Mavs fans will never forgive Nico Harrison and Patrick Dumont. I don't think there's anything they could do. There was a group of Mavericks fans I saw. I think it was DLLS that recorded them at Chop Shop outside, and they had Luka Lakers jerseys on, but they were Mavericks fans. They were from around here. They had cowboy hats on. I think the cowboy hats showed that they were from around here.
Yeehaw!
But they said the Mavs could win 10 championships, and we wouldn't forgive Nico, and we wouldn't forgive them for what they did because of all the things we've talked about with Luka and how special he was to this franchise.
Yeah.
And seeing him and seeing everybody react to this move and seeing the fans react to this and seeing the tribute video and seeing all the clutch shots he's made and all the crazy passes, how easy offense comes to him and how easy it is to just, how easy it is for him to go against any game plan you're going to put against him. And then just feeling the love from Mavericks fans made me really realize that they're never going to forgive Nico, ever.
Yeah, no, I mean, as long as Nico's here, I think that's that was another conversation I had multiple times tonight of what would it take to get the full fan base back. And I am in a belief that, hey, you win a title. It's hard to see the forest right now for the trees in front of you, but there are moments and memories that happen in a playoff run.
Yeah.
We know this, that win your heart over with role players and stars and stuff. Luka was asked post-game tonight of, hey, what was your favorite moment from the tribute video? He says the postseason run last year and the Minnesota game, the step back.
Oh, of course.
And he said we were underdogs in those series and stuff. So, I think there's a portion of there that there would be a lot of fans at a parade. Will it ever be fully
Our Mavs
closed?
In a way, right?
Closed, or will people be really happy that Nico's here again? I don't see that.
Or that he wins. If he's a GM and they win a title, I think people will be conflicted.
Definitely conflicted. I think definitely conflicted. But will it reach that point? I think at some point, in order for the fan base to fully come back, there's a lot of things that have to happen in these trickle down effects, and the thing is, we just don't know when that will happen.
A title, if Nico's the GM, would be like a blood diamond, wouldn't it?
Be tough, yeah. Yeah, it would be tough. It'd be. I mean, talking about conflicted is if KD comes here, and it's KD, AD, and Kyrie win a title. It's we're all excited for Kyrie, but it feels like a mercenary title, in a way. But I want to go back to when we first, came in. Even, we're talking about the fans too. I've never seen more different iterations of Nico shirts here.
Oh yeah, even walking in, I saw there was a QR code there was just a QR code by itself on a pole. Took a picture of it and it said A2 Nico on the shirt, and somebody was selling it.
I shot out a tweet about this, but I saw a couple of shirts with the Luka smiling at Booker meme.
Yes.
And Booker was replaced by Nico and that. Just a lot of Luka stuff, but also a lot of stuff about Nico on shirts. And that was another thing. I'm like, how do you see this whole arena and be like, yes, it was worth it?
There was a guy outside that bought 1,000 clown noses.
I've seen
and
that,
was giving them all out to people outside the arena.
Yeah, so it was just, we come into the arena, you see all the fans here, it's slowly filling up. A lot of times the 6:30 tip-off, it's an hour earlier than typically, but it got full by tip-off. A lot of times you see
it was about half by 6:30, which is rare.
Yeah, but early tip-off game, a lot of fans show up a lot later and stuff, getting off work and stuff, but it wasn't that way for this one. It was a packed house by tip-off. And just the scene, like, courtside and stuff, too, talking with people. You know, it wasn't fully NBA Finals level, but it was, like, playoff. Like, there wasn't an extra, like, media section open in the 300s for Finals media, but it was the most media I've seen at a game since Tony Romo.
A regular season game. It was more than the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
The Western Conference Finals, they had, like, this section open, and then they had a section over there that was open. But there was just as much, if not more, than – and seeing Luka warm up, and seeing the, like, perimeter that was made around the court, even just the whole half court when he was warming up was just – that was such a wild
you knew
experience.
He was about to come out. He always comes out around the 60-minute mark. And you started seeing everybody prepping, right? And you saw security which also heard tonight. Can't confirm it. But I did hear that the NBA head of security was here tonight, Leon Newsom.
Oh, makes sense.
But it's like – you start seeing the security, like they're like huddling up talking. This is like during warm-ups. You never see this, right?
Yeah.
And they start stationing like security around the court of like just the half court of like where Luka is about to warm up. And, you know, Luka comes out. It's so weird. You know, Pelinka's there. And this was one of the most telling things too.
Yeah.
In our home arena, I mean, the Lakers brass was just strutting around, right? Like, it's like you just got the brand new car and you're like, I got to drive the car everywhere and
hum the engine everywhere you go.
Yeah, I am taking the car. It's like, hey, wait, why do you have to go to Walmart? I don't. I just want to go take the car out. You know, and it's just like they were strutting around like they had the fancy new car. Yeah. Pelinka was rocking around everywhere talking. Kurt Rambis was here.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like you look over on the side and you see Bill Duffy, his agent, LB, his manager. You see, Rob Pelinka, and you see his crew, you know, part of his team and stuff, his training team, all in Lakers gear, which is weird because we've seen him in Mavs gear for a while. And it's just like Luka comes out and he's wearing a stupid Lakers logo across his chest. It's like, my God. And it's like at the same time we were talking, you know, Dorian is warming up. We both love Dorian so much.
The best.
And, we don't know a ton of NBA players personally, and Dorian isn't going to be calling me tonight, but it was a like cool moment of like Dorian's warming up, comes over, daps me up. And just references something about our time in the past, interviewing him and stuff, and how it's different now.
Well, and what he said, you look at us now. Who would have thought he did the Paul Rudd meme?
That's what he said to me.
Who would have thought? And who would have thought he'd be back here?
He looks at, we dap up. Dorian looks at me and said, "Who would have thought after those interviews I'd be on the other side?"
You just wanted to tell that story where Dorian dapped you up.
I did. I wish I had a picture of it. There's not. I mean, come on. Like, there's not a lot of NBA players.
It does highlight how bizarre and crazy this night was. That even Dorian was part of it, and like Dorian and Luka should have been Mavs for life.
It's tough. Yeah, and so seeing them warm up together was tough. Seeing him, Luka shoots the half court shot, nothing but net. You see some other people too. Greg St. Jean, assistant for the Lakers. You just see different people that's connected for Dallas and the Lakers, and it's like, God, this is weird.
It is just weird, and it's weird in sports when a trade can happen or people can move jobs and all that, and eventually you start rooting for laundry, right? Because like the ownership is all gone, the front office is all gone. Like from when a lot of you were children and were watching the Mavericks, that's all gone. All the players are gone except for Dwight Powell, who has remained, and he is he who remains.
I'm looking at my notes. My God, did you slightly talk about the Babe Ruth quote?
No. I'm gonna just sit real quick because I don't think I can stand while you talk about this.
If there's ever a quote that needs to be on the soundboard, it's Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's quote about comparing Luka to the Babe Ruth trade. And he was like, well, he's getting compared to Babe Ruth in that trade. That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool. He said that's kind of cool. Compared the Luka trade to the Babe. You know what happened in the Babe Ruth trade? The Red Sox traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees, and the Red Sox didn't win a title for 100 years.
I couldn't believe that quote was said.
It's kind of cool. Gosh.
I think it was one of the only times I laughed tonight. I watched most of that game. And
there was a LeBron moment where LeBron tried to
throw it backwards.
He flicked that shot behind his head because it was late in the shot clock and it was a wild like circus possession.
Yeah.
And LeBron made you laugh.
I told Nick, I was like, I think it's the only time he's made me laugh. In his
The three rims made you laugh, definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stupidity stuff that he does that it's just like his flat out lying, and he's a big reader.
What else do we see around here? It was
Gosh, let me check my notes real quick.
There was yeah, it was just a very unique fan experience. I saw some signs. I saw one sign that said, "Nico, you gave me my 13th reason," which is that's tough. I saw another one that said, "Maxey is the reason why I'm a Mavs fan." Maxey wasn't here. Maxey didn't get a tribute because he wasn't here.
Miss Maxey. Got a tweet tonight from someone saying that they were in the bathroom crying and they couldn't after the tribute video stuff. And that they weren't ready to come out of the bathroom. This was the scene tonight in the arena.
Right.
Like genuine feelings all around.
And if you're still a person that's like, why are you guys still talking about this? Think about everything that just happened tonight, right? Like we're gonna be talking about this. Oh, Dirk was here tonight. Dirk was sitting in the Adelson suite, and I just want to know what he's thinking through this whole thing. Here,
I mean, Tim McMahon said it pretty good. He's like, Dirk hasn't attended a Mavs game since the trade.
Yes.
Outside of the Lakers game, so where Luka made his debut in LA, and he was here. You've probably seen the clip by now. He was with Taylor Rooks in the
taking a selfie
in the suite. They're new coworkers for
Yeah.
Amazon. So promoting some stuff with that, but
wait till Dirk has to be on the desk for a Lakers game or a Mavericks game.
I was fully expecting a 2011 montage video tonight.
We didn't get any misdirects. They didn't try and pull any fast ones.
What Luka could have left? What if Luka left the arena in a Montana State jersey, holding a beer?
I did hear that Nico, when he was walking around, somebody held up a jersey to him, and I think it was a Luka jersey. Held up a jersey to Nico and asked him to sign it. And Nico took the pen and then thought about it for a second and gave it back to him and said, I think it would be disrespectful for me to sign the jersey of another player. And I was like, imagine they pull out a Montana State jersey right after that and hand it to him.
No comment. I was trying to think of anything else.
The Chicago Bulls get the win.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast.
The Chicago Bulls' decision to rest players yesterday pays off. And because every starter played over 30 minutes today. Modest Bucilis 34 minutes, Nikola Vucevic 35, Kobe 36, Kevin Huerter 37, Josh Giddey 40 minutes played. We got only 12 points of production from the bench today. Of course, everybody's going to talk about Josh Giddey and his triple-double. We got Josh Giddey also joined special territory with LeBron James and Nikola Jokic, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the game overall today, Pat, 119-111 over the Miami Heat. How you feeling?
Listen, you better win after what we saw yesterday, but it was a good game. I thought that there was I will say this. I shouldn't say it was a good game. I thought the first half, for the most part, was absolutely atrocious. The Bulls looked very lethargic. Kobe White could not hit a shot. It seemed like nothing was really falling for the team early on. And they still kept the game close because of their defense, which was very stellar in that game. But the last 4 minutes, I would say, of that first half, all of a sudden Josh Giddey started just going like, hey, let me show you something. I said 30 million, which may be up to 40 million. I don't know where we're at right now. He can make up to 51 million. That was what we were saying pre-show, but I don't know if he's going to get that. But he's working his way up the ladder here. His production all of a sudden at the end of that first half, I thought he just took off, and the Bulls followed suit. I thought defensively the Bulls really stepped up. It really sparked a fourth quarter where I thought defensively – a third quarter where I thought defensively the Bulls really kind of kept that run going. I thought for the most part, seeing how Kevin Huerter got himself going in that run as well was very big for this team. And the Bulls all of a sudden kind of had some life and were able to pull away. Miami never was able to get comfortable in this game, and you could see it the entire time. Outside of a hot first quarter, after that, Miami never really got comfortable again shooting the basketball, and the Bulls' defense was in their face just about the entire night. I thought Modest Bucilis did a really, really good job of playing the passing lanes, just getting his hands up, just being a part of the defensive structure that the Bulls needed to have there. And listen, it all paid off in the end. I didn't need the bench as much. I guess if this was the game plan of basically we are going to run you all until you die in this game, so sit down, I can live with what we saw yesterday.
And I mean, Billy Donovan has talked about that being an advantage for this team before, as far as it being a team that can wear teams down because they're well conditioned. And maybe that was the game plan. Is like, all right, we're gonna rest everybody because we know tomorrow we're just gonna try to tire them out, and it's gonna be a war of attrition because that's what the Bulls absolutely did today, man.
They're gonna get fined.
For what?
There's no way you could say Josh Giddey had an injury that kept him out and then run him 40 minutes.
No, I mean, well, even at the did you see Billy Donovan how he was trying to drill it home today in the pregame show? He was like, yeah, Josh Giddey's wrist is not 100%. And it's still kind of bad. That's literally what he said. He was like, the wrist injury is still kind of bad for Josh Giddey. And then Josh Giddey was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they said, hey, Josh Giddey, just wait. The first quarter, just
don't play. Don't play.
Because that run that you talked about at the end of the second quarter, they went on a 20-6 run at the 4-minute and 50-second mark all the way to the end. And they went at the start of that run, they were down 46-38. They were up 58-52 at the end of that first half. Josh Giddey had 10 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds, and went 4 or 5 from the field over that stretch.
Literally, there was a part where Giddey comes out of the game in the third quarter and he sits down. And like literally 2 seconds later, Billy's like, oh, I guess I'm back up at the scores table. Here we go again. No, man, listen, this was a good game. This was a fun game. And you know what it was? It was a game where you saw the resiliency of the Chicago Bulls. Again, like I said, in the beginning of this game, they were not playing well. Miami was scoring the basketball kind of easily, but you were trying to get the defense rotation. Miami was just hot. And then the Bulls bounce back, fight back. Josh Giddey takes over, and you manage to hold on to the lead. Throughout the rest of the game, I don't think the Bulls ever gave the lead back in this game. But on top of that, seeing the game that Kobe White had in that fourth quarter, where Kobe was god awful today, and the fact that he finished this game 5 for 14, I know many people are going to look at that stat line and say, wow, that was a really bad day. But it was a really, really great fourth quarter for Kobe White in a game where, again, that word resiliency. You don't win this game if Kobe White doesn't wake up in the fourth quarter, because nobody could score in the fourth quarter of this game early on. It was at one point where Kobe White ended up getting to 10 points. Vooch had a 3, Herter had a 3, and that was the offense.
Yeah, Kobe White scoring 12 of his 18 points in this game in the fourth quarter alone, where he goes 4-6 from the field in that and gets to the free throw line 4 times. But Kobe White, I know you said he played god awful, especially offensively, but there's still times where he was driving and creating for people, even when the shot wasn't falling. I think that's really good for Kobe once he recognizes that. And he only took 6 shots in the first half. He didn't hit any of them. So luckily he didn't turn into chucking Kobe, because that's when we start being like, all right, Kobe, calm down.
Well, I think what irritated me today about Kobe's game is it was the first time in a while that we didn't see him do exactly what we've seen him do in just about every game where he's had a good, or where he hasn't been able to shoot the basketball well, right? Yeah. Kobe White normally just goes, the 3 ball's off. All right, let me just get downhill. Now, and I want to give credit. That credits Miami's defense, I think, in a lot of this, because Miami was cutting him off. At first, the refs were just letting Miami beat the hell out of Kobe White.
Yeah.
And basically the Bulls couldn't reach in and do anything. So I don't know what the heck that was all about, but I love the fact that in the fourth quarter, kind of when Kobe got it going, it was that he was pissed off at the fact that Haywood Highsmith was just basically beating on him while he was off ball. He's like, I can't get a call right now. And then all of a sudden you saw Kobe kind of get himself going. Like,
and they called Kobe for a flagrant early in the game.
That was, though. He got the foot underneath. He didn't give him the land of space.
Yeah, but I guess when I look at that, I think that's when it's an intent thing. But I don't think Kobe intended to have his foot underneath him.
No, it's not. Literally, the rule isn't intent. The rule is literally if you don't give him the space, it's a flagrant foul no matter what. Because they kept trying to do it with intent before, remember? And then Giannis stuck his foot under Kyrie Irving's foot for like the 4th time, and they were like, all right, we can't tell intent or not. Like, you kind of a klutz when it come to this too. So they just made it straight up. But no, listen, I think the part I love about this game and the resiliency that the Bulls showed is this is what playoffs is going to be like. You're going to have games where Kobe White may not be on. Josh Giddey, you got to pick up the slack in that moment. Nikola Vucevic having a double-double today. Modest Buzelis just kind of picking his spots and when you're needed most, show up. That's how you win playoff series. That's how you win playoff games. That's how you're going to have to win in the play-in.
The Bulls are going to the playoffs, man.
I told you. I told you. What day did I say? What date? I don't remember what the date was. It was a while ago. It was like 3 weeks ago. I said,
Yeah. Bro, it may have even been longer than that. Like I don't remember.
See if I remember what game it was because we beat somebody.
It was like when we were. I think was it at the end of the first 3-game winning streak we had after the Zach LaVine trade.
That feels a little too long ago.
That feels like too long ago.
That feels a little bit too long ago. But I know I stamped and dated it on the video. Who did we beat? We got thrashed by Cleveland. Maybe it was the Pacers game. Oh, we got thrashed by them too.
Yeah, we did
got thrashed by them. That was bad.
But before we get out of this segment real quick, how'd you feel about Modest Bucilis' game today? Because I feel like Modest made an impact all over the court today, offensively and defensively.
The Magic game.
The
Magic. That was March 6th. We are at April 9th.
I told you, I thought it was over a month ago.
It was over a month ago. We then got destroyed. We beat Miami after that. Anyway, I thought Modest played a good game. I thought Modest played the game that is for the fourth guy on the offensive side of the ball. Again, another knock to P. Will. Great game yesterday. Didn't play. He kind of did play bad today. But
the whole bench was bad. Everybody off the bench was bad.
Yeah, but it was like every time P. Will tried to do anything, it just didn't work. He tried to throw a pass like to a wide open Kobe White, and somehow it got stolen in the middle of the floor. But anyway, Modest Bucilis in the fourth scorer's role put up 17 points, 4 rebounds. I thought that he literally just picked his spots, waited for his opportunity, continued to cut to the rim, tried to get in there and get some second chance opportunities. Thought he had a really good game defensively. I thought he played. They had to make a switch in the first quarter of the game because Modest was on Khalil Ware, and Khalil Ware was just dominating. And they were like, no, we need to put you on Bam Adebayo because at least you can kind of keep up with Bam. I thought that was a good switch in the first half. And once that switch was made, you kind of saw the Bulls defense start to lock in a little more.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars.
I'm looking at what Houston's got coming in. I'm looking at what Houston's got coming in Pop Isaacs and Khalifa Sacco. And I think that I really like the more I look at the combination of Pop Isaacs playing with Milos Uzan as I looked at that roster depth chart and talk some about like who could be on first and who's going where. I do think the freshmen will play. I don't think the freshman guards will get redshirted. You might see Bryce Jackson redshirted, but that's, he was always a little bit more of a development project. Like Isaiah Harwell might be a lottery pick and that kind of a thing. We know Sampson does so well with those guys like Bryce Jackson spots. We also seen them use, Jarris Walker has turned into like the prototypical guy that shows up and develops his game and works hard and still becomes a lottery pick, even though he played in the Houston system. I think you kind of see both those guys and what Harwell and Jackson bring. That does not mean to me, though, that Pop Isaacs does not have a real chance at this team. Now, I'm going to evaluate him based on how we saw him play. Obviously, had major hip surgery in the middle of the season this year after playing just 8 games, and that'll change some. The recovery time will change some. And again, I think that's why he probably gets a medical redshirt, even if I don't want to assume as much. Now, played 8 games, and I would point out that he was the driving force in beating Kansas hurt in those 8 games. He played hurt this year, which I think actually sheds a lot of light on like the toughness the kid has, whereas his rap before that was kind of like he's a scorer that likes to, celebrate and have a good time, and that was kind of his rap at one point in his career. I think playing through injury until it was impossible to play anymore this season and kind of leading that Creighton team when he was on the floor, really tells you a lot more about him, especially as he's getting older and more mature. I also will say, in watching Pop Isaacs play some at Creighton and getting ready for this in the last couple of days, he's a lot, at least when he was at Creighton and playing. Again, we haven't seen him post-surgery in a game situation. He has been working out and stuff, but he's gotten a lot better at like the harder things to do since his freshman year at Texas Tech, when he was an all Big 12 freshman or an all Big 12 performer at Texas Tech his sophomore year, right? Like, I think it's interesting watching a guy grow up like that. And it seems to, when you see that happen, make sense as to why that guy would choose Houston, right? It's like the next evolution of the Pokemon where you're moving up a thing, right? He's going from Charmander to Charizard. And the goal there would be to find someone that helps him develop into that. We both know that's Kelvin Sampson and what he can do for a program. This is a mutual thing, though. This was not just he's going to sign up and be a student in the fall. Kelvin Sampson then recruited him as well to come to Houston. And you should know that, like, while he's at Creighton, he had an over 26% usage rate. What does that mean, Parker? That means that on more than a quarter of their offensive possessions, the possession ended with him touching the ball last, and an assist, a basket, a shot, free throws, even a turnover, right? He was the last Creighton player to touch the ball on more than a quarter of possessions he was in. He's a very ball-dominant guy at Creighton, but he shoots over 40% on spot-up catch-and-shoot threes, and he does it really well on movement. And so I think that that's kind of where he fits in well with Uzan, in that both of them can shoot well in the catch and shoot, and both of them can be really aggressive in the attack, right? They're both Vegas natives, and so that adds a layer of fun to this, and they both get along, which adds another layer of fun to this. It's not unlike when Cryer transferred to Houston and played alongside Jamal Shed. They both knew each other from AAU circuits and those back in those days, even though Cryer was from KD and Shed was from just outside Austin at Manor. They knew each other from like circuit he kind of runs and wanted to play together, right? And also Cryer wanted to come home and that whole bit, wanted to play for Sampson, get better at the things he need to get better at. That's where this feels very similar to me. Cryer is third-team All-American. Pop Isaacs has the offensive game to do those same things. He sees what Cryer's working on. He's like, I've been getting better at those. I need to get even better at those, and sees that as a transition and a translation, right? And he shoots really well on catch and shoot, shoots really well on movement. But don't be fooled. Like, this guy uses the space that gives him, the gravity that gives him to get to the rack as well. He gets in the lane pretty effectively for guys listed at 6'2", 6'3", depending on what listing you're looking at. I do think that what's interesting to me about him is that, a lot like Emmanuel for Houston, Emmanuel Sharp, you see a lot of Pop Isaacs threes happening from like NBA range. He understands this as a smaller guard. He might need, like, he shoots from out there at a pretty efficient, relatively speaking, clip at a pretty high percentage out that far. And that gravity element, again, pulls guys away to open up driving lanes and drop offs and so on. And I think that that's where he fits in. And again, I see him continuing to grow and mature. I see Sampson's a great guy to do that. And the fact that he recruited him, Sampson recruited Isaacs, that is, and that Isaacs is coming to Houston, I think understands that, or implies to me they both understand what that is. I will say that as we pull up that depth chart one more time, that's a lot of guards, right? From oldest to youngest, you've got Emmanuel, Milos, Pop. You've got Terrence is kind of a wing. You've got KJ, you've got Mercy, you've got Kingston, you've got Isaiah, you got Bryce, right? That's a lot of guards. Kelvin Sampson always, now he'll trust older guys early in the season, but he always plays the best guys. We saw that happen last year when he started the season starting JVR. Team played better when JoJo started, so he started JoJo after that, right? JVR was impactful. JVR had the dunk of the century in the NCAA National Championship game, right? JVR was impactful in winning the Duke game. JVR was important in winning a lot of key games. But Sampson saw the younger guy was important to winning, and so he played him. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that any one person starts out of that guard room. I do know that Houston will probably play three guards because they have for feels like most of the Kelvin Sampson era, and it always helps when two of them can kind of run point. Frankly, that's when they've kind of been their best, when you had like Marcus and Jamal. Jamal was the more true point guard, but Marcus could do it. right? You had Quentin and Ladiki, right? Like whatever, right? Multiple guards is a good thing for Calvin. And so I feel like what you're going to see is a lot of rotations early in the season, kind of finding his guys, selling in the roles. But I still think you probably see a more even distribution of guard minutes next year than you did this past year, where you really only brought in Malik and kind of Terrence off the bench to help out that backcourt. Really, Terrence played a lot more small ball 4 than guard by the end of the season. Speaking of small ball, okay, somewhat ironic because he's not very small. Khalifa Sacco is coming in as well. He'll be a transfer senior from Sam Houston. He's listed at 6'11". I would believe you if you told me he's 7 feet tall. He sticks out like a sore thumb on Sam Houston tape because he's so big and so athletic. He's had a crazy high variance career. He's got some games where he's got like, easy double-double, best athlete in the gym. No one looks like they can run with him. He's got games where he has had trouble putting the ball in the basket in his 4 years before this. I guess 3 years of playing. What I like about the guy is that he's 6'11" and change, positive wingspan. He's got long arms, and he's still a high-energy guy, like constantly moving, constantly like in and out of the lane on defense, constantly doing all the different things to disturb what's going on the other team. He dunks everything inside of 5 feet, which is awesome. But the height, the wingspan, and the vertical, he gets the ball inside of 5 feet. He's going to try and dunk the thing home, and that's freaking awesome. At Sam Houston, he was really effective as a roller. Synergy has him at 1.13 points per possession as the roll man. So if you run pick and roll and get him the rock, you're getting a point every possession or more than a point, which means you're scoring on more than half of those possessions, right? That's pretty efficient to say the least. I thought he had, in watching some of his highlight clips, really great feel for relocation, meaning if the guard drives baseline, relocates to an open spot to catch the drop off, or getting out of the way while also being in a position to catch the ball. That's hard to teach a big man. It's a lot of feel, a lot of reps, and I think Sacco's got that. Frankly, it's going to be interesting to see how he translates to Houston, because so much of what he did at Sam Houston State was being the best big athlete on the floor. And I don't think it was particularly close. Blocked a lot of shots, had a lot of rebounds, wants to catch lobs, wants to get out and run. What I like about this guy, my vision for the guy, is I see him being a veteran big man off the bench. I see JoJo Tugler and Chris Sinak, the McDonald's All-American, coming in as a freshman, both starting. Sinak may be a lottery pick. If he were able to go right out of high school, I think he would be a lottery pick this summer. He's that kind of good, and it's going to be that kind of fun to watch, right? Think like Jarris Walker, but a little taller and skinnier, right? That kind of, he plays in the perimeter, does great stuff, right? I feel like, though, you want the veteran Sacco in there to kind of be the adult in the room at times. You kind of want older guys around a Sinak in the forward center group, right? So when you look at that depth chart, right, Sinak is the only freshman true big, right? McFarland would be a redshirt freshman, but he's also been at Houston for so long. You got to remember the injury and the actual redshirt and so on. He's going to be a little bit older as well. Said Lott, older. JoJo Tugler, older. Sacco now, older. These guys that they're surrounding Sinak with are the older grown men to kind of help teach him the ropes about what college basketball is all about in a big kind of way, right? And so I see that being his role. I think it could be the third big. Houston will start too, so it'll be the third big in. He and Ced could be fighting for that spot. They're very different athletes, but also both very wildly, incredibly talented athletes. Big, strong, fast. They just look different in how they do it. And so I don't know who's going to get that third big spot. For all I know, I can tell you right now, in a high school, I would have thought it was going to be Jacob McFarland, because he's such a skilled guy with the ball relative to both Ced and Sacco. And so I feel like he'll make a run at that as well. Whatever the case may be, I think all these guys are going to be great supporting staff to help grow and develop Chris Sinak in a really quick way.
The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking my favorite teams or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. There's so many ways to bet. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance for an even bigger win. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
With Caleb Glenn transferring to Michigan State University, our Spartans just got a little bit more offensive help.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Big-time portal pickup, four-time Izzo for the Spartans because, contrary to popular belief, Izzo was not just in his lake house, just enjoying sunset after sunset without doing a single thing in the transfer portal. No, that man moves, but he does it in silence. As loud and boisterous as he is on television and in front of microphones during press conferences, now they get their stuff done in secrecy here in East Lansing. Kind of surprising. The college basketball world was picking up Caleb Glenn out of the transfer portal, 6'7", 210-pound wing player out of Boca Raton. Now that is, of course, by way of Louisville. This will not be his second college stop. This will be his third college stop. But let's get to learn about our newest Spartan here, guys. The number 11 ranked small forward transfer prospect on 24/7 Sports. He was second team All AAC for the Owls. He averaged 12.6 points, which led Florida Atlantic last year. He also snagged 4.8 rebounds per game. Now, the last game that he had for the Owls, not too shabby. 18 points, 5 rebounds, unfortunately in a loss for the Owls in the NIT against Dayton, but hey, went out on a high note there. Now, this is not going to be the first time that we've seen Glenn play at Breslin Center. If you guys remember, in the middle of the season, our Spartans took on the Owls. Now, Glenn, just 6 points, 2 of 9 shooting, 1 rebound against Michigan State, but we're not going to knock a guy for having a tough game against Michigan State because we just saw, in pretty good sample size, how good Michigan State was defensively last season. Actually, if you break it down, which you can do this on BartTorvik.com. If you looked at his games against top 100 opponents, which there were 11 such games that FAU played this year, played pretty solid. Like, there's a lot to like about his game. So let's just get into why we love this pickup for the Spartans here. And, of course, what number do I like to fly to like a moth to a flame? It is at 3-point percentage number. Now, is that because we just saw Michigan State be on the complete run end of 3-point percentage pretty much the entire season? Yeah, a little bit. Is it more so of, well, this is just the way basketball is going? The 3-pointers more prioritized? Yeah, it's probably some combination of both, but we like to see that Mr. Glenn shoots the 3 at 40.4% from behind the arc. Now, it's not like he's gunning it up as much as Steph Curry is. He's not putting up 12 attempts per game from 3-point land. A little over 3 per game, but he is much more well-rounded than a shooter. We'll get more into the shooting numbers here in a little bit. But guys, on twos, specifically around the rim, really good finisher around the rim. He is 60% shooting on 2-point field goals, and when he is around the rim, 69.8% finisher around the rim. That is certainly above average, especially for a guy. Again, like, we're not talking about a 7-foot center here that's just dunking the ball in here and, just laying the ball in after jumping 4 inches. No, this, for a 6'6" guy, 70% around the rim, that's pretty solid. Obviously, he's got good finishing skills. He's got some bounce to his game. Don't expect him to compete in a dunk contest against Cohen Carr, like Carr's in his own league. But hey, you know what? On that next tier, you'll see guys like Caleb Glenn with his bounce, so he can do it in a variety of ways. Now, back to his shooting. How does he do it? Does he do catch and shoot? Does he do it off the dribble? Well, got good news for you guys, because on catch and shoot 3-pointers, he is in the 80th percentile at effective field goal percentage, if I can get those words out of my mouth. Let me say that again. 80th percentile in the nation on effective field goal percentage on catch and shoot shots. Off the dribble gets even better when you stack him up against all of his other guys that he's going up against nationally. He's in the 93rd percentile shooting off the dribble. Now, he does get to the free throw line quite well, like not like Frankie Fiddler status, where it was almost like, 5 or 6 times per game when he transferred here from Omaha. But still, you're going to like to see that he got to the line 3.4 times per game last year. Now, it's not all great. I don't have like nothing but awesome numbers for you. One concern, 62% free throw shooter. It's not great, but everything I just named here, hopefully you're going to like what you see from Caleb Glenn. I do think that is fascinating, though, that he is kind of a poor free throw shooter. but seems to be fine from three, fine from elsewhere around the court. But yeah, free throws just hasn't really gotten it together. So hopefully he can get a bump here in East Lansing in what will be his third year collegiately. Now, what does this mean for Michigan State? Well, first and foremost, like we talked about, Michigan State gets 3-point help. Because you lost Jace Richardson. You lost Trey Holloman. You lost Jaden Akins. You lost Xavier Booker. You lost Frankie Fiddler. And while the 5 guys I named, you might say, what are you talking about Frankie Fiddler for? He shot 19%. What do we care about that? The 5 guys I named were the top 5 3-point field goal attempts for Michigan State. Like, I know that didn't go in. I know we wanted a lot more 3-pointers to go in this year, guys. But as far as volume goes, you're missing a lot of volume. And of course, amongst that, you're missing guys that could actually shoot threes, like Jace Richardson, for example. Jaden Akins on the right day. Same with Trey Holloman. But yeah, Michigan State needs 3-point help, not just for what we saw last year, but even in the little 3-point shooting that we did see last season, you lost most of that. Yeah, sure, you return Jackson Kohler. I mean, he's shown, especially at the end of the year, that he's going to have a 3-pointer to his game. Cohen Carr's shooting, still a work in progress, but definitely took a leap forward last year. But yeah, you need bona fide 3-point threats to be trailers in transition, which I think Glenn could be great at. Or, if Michigan State gets zoned to death, which they did last year, I'm sure they'll see a little bit of zone this year. Hey, yeah, having a guy that can shoot the corner 3 as well as he does, yes, please. We're going to need 3-point shooting.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
5 potential NFL draft quarterback fits for the New Orleans Saints. 2 day 2 fringe day 1 quarterbacks could present the New Orleans Saints with more options at number 9 at different positions, and then still cash in on the potential of a future franchise quarterback if the Saints feel highly about these 2 players. And I want to start off with Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. Then we're going to go Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. When it comes to Jackson Dart, he feels like he has been the most consistently tied to the organization passer in this year's NFL draft, and kind of most meaningfully tied as well. Kellen Moore going to his pro day. They got an up-close look at him as well at the Senior Bowl as a participant there. Adam Schefter over at ESPN mentioning in a tweet the other day that the Saints have spent considerable time, or that Jackson Dart has spent considerable time, quote unquote, with the Saints throughout the interview process, along with a few other teams. And so now it feels like there's a lot of momentum still, or that there's been the most momentum in terms of what has been consistent and what has been sustained momentum in the quarterback draft conversation between Jackson Dart and the New Orleans Saints than any other quarterback in this class. It feels like the peak of momentum has been around Shedeur Sanders, but the most consistent momentum has been around Jackson Dart, and I think that's for good reason. Let's take a look at, and I think that good reason, by the way, is that there's genuine interest there. At least they've done all the things that signal genuine interest. Like the Saints have not been quiet at all, or behind closed doors, or shy about being interested in Jackson Dart. It's clear that there is some interest there. So why is that? Let's take a look at each of our 5 criteria that we're diving into today. Positive. Mobility in the pocket, and works really, really well out of structure, creating like secondary passing opportunities, can play a little bit of that playground ball, kind of fits the same as a couple of the other passers that we've already talked about, but just seems very, very comfortable in these situations. Really good at understanding passing concepts and wide receiver route combinations. That Lane Kiffin offense kind of elevated that for him, but it's also his negative as well. Most people, when they talk about the negatives around Jackson Dart, doesn't come down to things like decision making, only thrown 11 interceptions over the course of the past 2 years, just 6 interceptions last year. But instead, it's the offense and the system that he plays in. Lane Kiffin's offense is one of those wide open offenses that's considered quote unquote easy for quarterbacks because it's half field reads. It's a lot of half field read concepts to where you're, sending one player on a go route and then you're running another player on a corner route that cuts underneath that go. And then there's a running back out in the flat. Dan Orlovsky broke down a play just like this in a recent episode of one of his shows. And what you see is the ability to, or not necessarily the ability, but the freedom, I guess I would say, and ability, right? Because he also does it successfully, but the freedom and comfort to be able to just read one side of the field. What is this defender doing as the conflict defender? But I think that's okay. I think in today's NFL, that's not uncommon to have to take a quarterback from one spot in college where you're reading half the field and say, okay, now you're coming to the pros, learn how to read the entire field. And I really doubt that there's a lot of coaching staffs out there that don't believe that they can train that don't believe that they can coach that. Like I said, with a lot of the negatives and hits and, criticisms that you're going to hear about all 5 of these quarterbacks, every coaching staff in the NFL believes they can fix these things. If not, then they shouldn't be coaching, right? And so I think that that's something that I really look at and go, okay, well, that's not an uncommon leap for a young quarterback to make from college to the pros. So I'm not too concerned about that. But the idea of manipulating a conflict defender and using your eyes to manipulate that defender, we see that on Jackson Dart's tape. Pretty good stuff to see there. What's his draft projection? I think it's safe to call him a fringe first rounder, which isn't to say that he would go late in the first round. It's just that there's projections of him in the first round and there's projections of him in the second round, or potentially being a trade up target in the bottom of the first round. So he kind of exists in between those 2 rounds. So I think giving the fringe first tag is reasonable. How do the Saints get him? Well, they could draft him at 9. Lance Moore over at the Saints Squad show that we did on Monday. By the way, the next Saints Squad show is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, where we'll be live. Myself, Dylan Sanders, John Hendricks, and Lance Moore. He talked about how drafting a quarterback at number 9 isn't the worst decision if the organization believes that that player can be a franchise quarterback. So if they think of Jackson Dart in that way, just draft him at 9. If you don't want to necessarily go that route, though, you can wait until 40 and see if he's there in the second round, or like we mentioned, a trade up late in the first round to be able to get back into that first round, get that 5th-year option on him, and select him at the end of the first. Who stands in the way? Pretty much all quarterback needy teams, because every NFL team right now still owns its original first round picks. Like the first time in 20 years that this has happened. And so therefore, every quarterback needy team stands in your way between you and you again, between 9 and 40. And so I would say specifically, though, I would highlight the Cleveland Browns early in round 2 at pick 33. If they don't go with the quarterback in the first round, could circle back to a quarterback early in the second round. And then, of course, Pittsburgh at 21 stands in your way because it's in between your pick at 9 and your pick at 40. Let's take a look at Jalen Milroe next. A big positive for him. I mean, incredible athlete. And as a passer, a pretty good deep ball as well. 104.2 passer rating in 2024 on passes that traveled more than 20 yards through the air downfield. Has a pretty good deep ball, and of course is just a remarkable playmaker with the ball in his hands. Has a scrambling quarterback, designed runs, all of those things. The negative around him kind of looks like it's in that short intermediate area of passing. His passer ratings hover around 82 in the short and intermediate areas in 2024, and 10 of his 16 passing touchdowns came through passes 20 yards downfield in terms of air yards. So you could see that comfort downfield isn't necessarily there for him in the short and intermediate areas and things like that. So that's a big thing to have to work on. But we've seen quarterbacks come into the NFL with similar criticism and turn into starters. And with both of these quarterbacks, Dart and Milroe, there's a Hurts-esque asset or piece to it of Jalen Hurts was highly criticized coming into the NFL as being a better runner than a passer, needing to shape up his accuracy and anticipation and ball placement and things like that. And so you see elements of that in both of these passers, Milroe's more specifically probably, particularly as a dynamic rushing threat. So Jalen Hurts looked great working with Doug Nussmeier as the quarterback's coach, as well as Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. Now Doug Nussmeier here in New Orleans as the offensive coordinator while Kellen Moore is the head coach. So in Philly, it worked. Could you find some similar growth with the player over the course of his rookie contract here with a guy like Jalen Milroe? Draft projection seems to be pretty comfortably day 2, either round 2 or round 3. So that would put the Saints, in terms of what they would have to do to get him, potentially selecting him in round 2, pick 40, or potentially selecting him in round 3, pick 71. I think you run the risk waiting any longer than that if he's still on the board because of Pittsburgh drafting at not only 21, but also 83, 10 selections before you're back on the board in the 3rd round. So I guess you could try to move back up in the 3rd round if you want to, leverage one of those 4th round picks and then move up and get another pick closer to 71 if you wanted to get kind of back-to-back or tight in the 3rd round. But you don't necessarily have to. You could just take him at 71 if that's the case. And so for Milroe, feels like day 2 is a good spot. But look, he accepted an invitation to the draft. And the fact that the NFL invited him at all to Green Bay for the draft tells you that there's at least some chance that he also ends up going in the 1st round. So we have to acknowledge the fringe first nature of Jalen Milroe as well. So I also highlight the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21 as a possible investment worth making, or a team that wants to draft him and take him into being a different position from quarterback. They could potentially go a little bit earlier for him as well.